Hi guys, welcome back. So this is going to be a new series. In the past I have done different videos of different books about the national parks and a national park map that detailed the US, where every national park in the United States is. But today, thanks to a suggestion from one of you, I have a new series starting. Unfortunately, I'm in my car, and unfortunately, it is spring. So there are cars and there are tractors going by. I live in the farmland, so trailing off of it's spring, you can probably hear it in my voice. My allergies are really bad right now, so we're doing our best. I'm situated so funkily in the back seat of my car because this book is huge. This is a huge, it's an atlas of the U.S. national parks, and it's made to look like a Rand McNally, if you know what that is, the classic road atlas. But this one is by Michael Joseph Oswald, and it details maps of every national park. So in this series, I would like to go through each and every national park map. I think it just includes the Maine national parks, not the other National Park Service territories. But there's still plenty for us to go through. So they have it set up. Here's the index going from page 1 all the way to the last page. This follows the east, then the north, the south, the southwest, the west, Alaska, and then remote islands. So islands not connected very closely to the continental United States. So these are just some top 15s, best parks, best attractions, best adventures, best trails, best drives, and best lodges. We're just going to go through it. At some point, my car is probably going to turn off the air conditioning. I cannot guarantee when that'll be, but my car will turn off. You might hear a beep. I don't think I can turn it off, but I'm also very well contorted, so I cannot shut it off after it beeps to keep it running. But this is our big index with some information about each park based on the location. So you got your east ones, you got your north ones, north, what do they say, the I don't know, I'd say Midwest, and then the west, and then Alaska, and our remote islands as well. But we're going to go through each of them in detail, so let's not worry too much about that stuff right now. So this thing is huge, as you can tell. So I will be, here's my other national park map. It's been through it, so it's folded down over here in the pocket of my car. Let's try to get that out of the corner. So it's really hard for me to film it, especially to come kind of on an angle, so I do apologize for the weird it's the slant of the seat, I think, that's working against me right now. But maybe in the future I'll have a better way to do it. Maybe I'll sit in my trunk or something. But right now there's dirt in my trunk, and I don't want to sit on dirt, and I don't have a vacuum with me right now. But alright, so here is our overview of the United States, continental, as well as Alaska and our other remote islands that are out there and have pieces of the National Park Service. All the way out here we have our western region, the southwest, the south, the north, the east, there's Alaska, and then our remote islands are popped around down here. This is just the overview of where everything is. We'll get further into that. So to start today, we're going to start on the east. That's our first national park in the book. It's right up here in Maine, and that is Acadia. I don't want to say it's the farthest north in the continental United States because I think Glacier and the North Cascades are technically further north in the lower 48, but it's way up there. So here's our overview of the south. All the way down here is Dry Tortugas, going all the way up to, maybe it can show you, Acadia. Also, I think I mentioned my allergies. My throat is sore. I'm very congested. My eyes are itchy. Time to drink water. And if you haven't drank enough water today, get on it. Hydrate or dehydrate, my friends. So this shows all the National Park Service owned and operated locations along the east. In the east here, they count from the Mississippi-Louisiana state line all the way to Florida, up through the line for Kentucky and Ohio, all the way up to Maine. So we're going to start with Acadia, like I said. We'll check in on the maps, the big overview maps every time. So here we are in the east at Acadia. Here's our little section that the author has written out called Why Visit Acadia? The first bullet point is exceptional hiking. Then we have bike, hike, or ride horse-drawn carriages along Rockefeller's carriage roads. Water activities, swimming, boat tours, ferries, and paddling. Rock climbing, fall foliage in September to October. Lighthouses. The park is a very unique place with an interesting mix of human history and recreational opportunities. And hiking again. It needs to be repeated as Acadia is one of the best hiking destinations. I don't want to say he's biased because I've heard a lot of people say that too. Down here, we have some what you need to knows. Visitation peaks in July and August. The Island Explore Shuttle is a great free resource available from June through mid-October. You won't have to worry about parking, and it opens up many one-way hiking possibilities. Precipice Trail is awesome and extreme, but it's typically closed from mid-March to mid-August. Fall foliage typically peaks in early October. For Thunder at Thunder Hole, try to arrive between high and low tide. In summer, a permit is required to drive to the summit of Cadillac Mountain. It's a popular destination all day long, but it's known as the spot to watch the sunrise as it receives the first rays of light on the east coast for part of the year. Even if you miss out on a Cadillac Mountain permit, don't sleep in. There are many good sunrise spots along Ocean Path, including Sand Beach, Thunder Hole, Boulder Beach, and Gorham Mountain. If you like guided tours, Acadia has plenty. Outfitters will take you paddling in Frenchman's Bay or Sums Sound. You can learn to rock climb, join a bicycle tour, explore the ocean on scenic and educational cruises, and there are carriage tours along the park's famed carriage roads. You can also book a scenic flight from Bar Harbor Airport. If you like a uniquely primitive and quiet camping experience at Isle of Haut, Duck Harbor, try to reserve one of the 5 sites as soon as they become available, typically in early April. Most visitors reaching Isle of Haut aboard the mail boat out of Stonington. And then here's a little plan for if you only have a day or 3. So for day 1, it's recommended that if you only have 1 day, you want to spend your day on Mount Desert Island and make it count by taking in the sunrise atop Cadillac Mountain or along Ocean Path. They recommend stopping at Jordan Pond House for snacks and then join a carriage tour. The rest of your time, they recommend you spend hiking. Day 2, they recommend sticking with the same plan, but staying around Park Loop Road, what did this say? Stick with the one-day plan. Okay, so I was right. You're staying with this plan, but stay on Park Loop Road. If you're tired from hiking, rent a canoe or kayaks to paddle Eagle Lake, Long Pond, or Jordan Pond. You can also paddle out into Frenchman Bay from Bar Harbor. And if you are lucky enough and have 3 days or more, now you can start thinking about heading over to Isle Haut or Schoodic Peninsula. With that said, there are plenty of exceptional hikes to spend more than 3 days on Mount Desert Island. So, now we get into the meat and potatoes. So this is a close-up of the vast majority here of Acadia National Park. We also have some close-ups down here for Isle Haut and Schoodic Peninsula. And up here in the corner we have Maine. So this is our regions of Acadia. So here is Maine, and here is Mount Desert Island, which is the main one. Here's Isle Haut, and here's the Schoodic Peninsula. Everything in green belongs to the National Park Service. So let's look a little closer here. So, Mount Desert Island is the main part of Acadia. Oh goodness, it's starting to sprinkle outside. Not enough for you to hear. But oh well. So when you come in from Maine, the pretty much main way to get to Mount Desert Island is to take this road here. It looks like road 3. You'll take that through. Just realized you cannot see it. Let me turn it that way. There we are. You'll take the road here across the bridge that takes you over the Mount Desert Narrows, and there's Thompson Island Information Center right there, right, a tiny little dot right there in the Narrows. There's also like a picnic area and restrooms, and then you can continue on where you have 2 choices. You can continue south and take 120 and 198, and that takes you down to the eastern side, or you can head, the western side, or you can head east, continuing on Route 3, and I'm assuming the routes, and that will connect you to Park Loop Road, which starts right here. That road does continue on into the village green here, but if you take Park Loop Road, that road loops all the way around a large eastern chunk of Acadia. This also takes you to the Cadillac Mountain entrance. So over here is Cadillac Mountain entrance. It is called Cadillac Summit Road. You'll follow this part of the road here. And this is a 2-way section in here, but this is a 1-way section. It would appear, yes, there it is, 1-way, based on the arrows. I think in here it also becomes 2-way. We'll get to that a little later. Cadillac Summit Road is a 2-way, but it does not allow RVs, and there's no public bus service. Probably for the best, because that is awfully twisty and turny. So, over here, further east, we have the Sur de Monts entrance, and that pretty much leads you to the Wild Gardens of Acadia, the Nature Center, the Abe Museum, and Bear Brook, which looks to be a little picnic area, and that's all right in here. Right in here. If you went east on the 1-way road, on Park Loop Road, you can get to the Precipice Trailhead, which will take you to Champlain, Mountain. And further south, it'll take you to an overlook here. And that is at the Sand Beach entrance station. Here we have Beehive, which is a hiking trail. There's the precipice, and Sand Beach is right down there. So you can follow this Park Loop Road and get right down to Sand Beach, or go a little further for Thunder Hole. Gorham Mountain Trailhead is also right there just south of Thunder Hole. And if you keep going, you get to Otter Cliff and Otter Point, which is a look-off point here for Otter Cove and Otter Creek. Should be noted, I'm 99.9% sure there are no otters because this is the Atlantic Ocean. Could be wrong, but I'm 99.9% sure there are no otters here. If you continue on the one-way, you will eventually come across Day Mountain. So you do gain some elevation there. And that takes you to a bridge where there are some carriage roads and other roads here, and hiking trails that looks like you cross over, possibly under, probably over since it is a bridge. But there's 2 bridges listed, so I cannot be sure. But north of that is Pametic Mountain. You can take carriages there, or you can take, looks like, the Park Loop Road. The carriages go all over Day Mountain. Over here, if you continue on Park Loop Road and head more east, you'll get to the gatehouse. If you go south before you get to the gatehouse and you take the 2-way, you get to the Stanley Brook entrance at Seal Harbor. This is just a nice little place to go because why not overlook the Eastern Way instead of the Atlantic? On this side of Otter Point and Otter Cove and everything, you look out over the Atlantic Ocean, but Seal Harbor overlooks the Eastern Way towards a few more islands. So you can take that 2-way there, and that also connects you to some other roads. Route 3 loops around right there, so that can take you out of the park again. If you continue north from on the one-way road there, you go up towards the gatehouse I mentioned earlier. You will eventually come across the Jordan Pond House. So Jordan Pond is right here. There is no swimming in a lot of these. Bubble Pond up here, no swimming. Eagle Lake, no swimming. And Upper Hadlock Pond, no swimming. Lower Hadlock Pond, no swimming. Long Pond, I don't think says no swimming, but that's probably because it isn't actually a pond. I think the ocean feeds it right there. So you can come up along Park Loop Road. There is a boat ramp for Jordan Pond. There's no swimming, but you can boat on it. Kayaks, canoes, possibly electric boats, might be wrong. But as you continue further north, again up Park Loop Road, you will pass Pametic Mountain, as well as Bubble Pond, as I mentioned earlier, no swimming, and Eagle Lake, no swimming. It does become a 2-way again as you come back towards Cadillac Mountain, or Cadillac Mountain Drive. So over here to the east of the one-way road, on 233, we have the park headquarters. This is not like a visitor center, but you can take 233 to the other side of Route 3 and 198 here, which will take you back towards the gatehouse, the secondary gatehouse, and the upper and lower Hadlock Ponds. And that'll bring you back around to Long Pond and Seal Harbor. Back down that way, off the edge by Long Pond, is Bear Island, that is closed to the public. Further to the east again, on that road, on that Park Loop Road just north of it, off of Bar Harbor, there's several little islands up here. We have Sheep Porcupine Island, Burnt Porcupine Island, Long Porcupine Island, and Bald Porcupine Island. A lot going on there, specifically with porcupines. Here, from Bar Harbor, there are two ways to get to, I do believe, the Schoodic Peninsula. You can take a ferry. Down here, if you'd done the loop, or if you came in on Route 3 and you continued south, if down either way, as long as you're down the Long Pond area, as you come north, you can see the Northeast Harbor and the Northeast Harbor location. From Northeast Harbor, you can take a passenger ferry to the Great Cranberry Island and Little Cranberry Island. You will pass Sutton Island on the way, and you'll go through the Eastern Way. On this side over here, you have Sargent Drive, which is autos only, which takes you kind of like a more scenic route along Sums Sound from Northeast Harbor to Route 3 and back again. So if you take 198 north, or if you took it from the mainland, if you take it from the mainland, and you continue south through Sumsville, that brings you to the eastern side of Acadia. So this takes you through Ike's Point, which is next to Echo Lake. There's Acadia Mountains right over there that can be hiked to. Echo Lake Beach. Valley Cove is off here. Looks like you can only hike to it. Not quite. Looks like there might be a road that gets you close there. But that is the Carroll Homestead Interpretive Trail, located near Valley Cove and the Narrows here. This is down here off of 102. Looks like not 198. It looks like this becomes 102 when it splits with 198. This takes you down to the Southwest Harbor, which faces across east at the Northeast Harbor. Between them is Greening Island, and from the Southwest Harbor you can also get a passenger ferry to Great Cranberry and Little Cranberry Islands. Looks like there's also a way somehow to get here to Baker Island, because there is a hiking trail across it, as well as a lighthouse. There's also a lighthouse on Bear Island, but it is closed to the public, as I said, despite the fact that this little chunk that the lighthouse is on is green. Kind of hard to see, I think, probably on camera, because it's mostly that lighthouse icon. But that is green, so that means it does belong to Acadia. If you follow 102A, so when you get down to the split, you can go east or west. If you go east, it becomes 102A. If you go west, it also becomes 102A, technically. But it stays 102. You can get to the seawall, as well as the seawall campground and amphitheater. And you can get to, from there, Bass Harbor. From Bass Harbor, you can take the Swans Island Ferry. It's a vehicle ferry. And just overlook Bernard and Bass Harbor. And here's the Bass Harbor Marsh up here. So you can drive all the way around the far western side of Acadia if you want. You can check out the pretty Marsh Harbor. And you can drive around, or near at least, Long Pond, which does have a boat ramp. So now let's look a little closer at some of these smaller islands that you can get to. Hydrate or dihydrate. So over here we have some small maps. This one is for Isle Haut. And Isle Haut is southwest of Acadia, the main island for Acadia. So you would get up here, instead of going out of Ellsworth, you would actually come out of Blue Hill. You would take Route 15 across Deer Isle to Stonington, and from Stonington take a passenger ferry to Isle Haut. So the passenger ferry would drop you off on the southern side of the island at Duck Harbor Landing. It is seasonal. Give me one second. And this is quite small here, Isle Haut. Kimball Island, you'll come through the thoroughfare on the ferry. There's the lighthouse you'll pass. Isle Haut has hiking trails all around it. I'm probably saying that so wrong. Here's another long pond. Head Harbor to the south next to Eastern Head. Deep Cove, Bard Harbor. Turnip Yard over here. Boom Beach is over here. And it looks pretty primitive, which is really neat. Over here, we have the map of the Schoodic Peninsula. So that's... Oh, car turned off, told you. Up here, the Schoodic Peninsula is to the east of Acadia's main Mount Desert Island. So instead of taking Route 3 through Ellsworth, you'll take Route 1 to Goldsboro, and you will head south from there. There's looks like 3 different major roads that you can take to get there. The Schoodic Peninsula here it is not an island, it is a peninsula, unlike the others. So from here's Winter Harbor. You can take the passenger ferry from Bar Harbor if you want, or drive down from the mainland. There is a one-way traffic, and that's the park exit. So you end one-way traffic here. At the north, you have the Schoodic Woods Campground and Amphitheater. Day use parking right here. Here's Mosquito Harbor. Oh boy, that's a great name. Mark Island has a lighthouse right there, and you follow the one-way south, and you can come to Schoodic Point over here, which is where the Schoodic Institute and Welcome Center is. You can overlook Little Moose Island as you come back around the one-way. There is Blueberry Hill, which appears to be kind of a parking space for some of the hiking paths. And these are bike paths, so that would be neat. So you can come up. There's Schoodic Island right down there. It doesn't look like you can get to it unless you boat yourself, though. But you follow the one-way back north, and while there is some parking available there, that is the end of the park. So, I hope this has been somewhat entertaining, and at the very least, relaxing. I think this was a pretty good test run. I tried to film this yesterday and it was not working out. But next time, so probably in a few weeks here, we'll talk about, what's next? Cuyahoga Valley, which I think is a very underappreciated park, honestly. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. As always, leave suggestions. You can follow me on my Instagram, but I really don't post on there very much. I look forward to continuing this series. We have quite a ways to go. Alright. I'll talk to you guys next time, I think. Hopefully next time I'm not so congested. Alright, bye guys.